Hey there, welcome to the franchise revolution. You may be thinking, what the heck's going on? You're wearing a tank top again if you've seen some of our other videos. Well, I just finished my workout and I thought it would make sense to take this time while I'm still a little sweaty, a little worn out, to talk to you guys about fitness franchises. There's a lot of noise out there about fitness franchises. Some are incredible, some are absolute trash. We're going to help you to learn about really how to tell the difference between the good ones and the bad ones and the ones in between. But first, some quick introductions for you. My name is Jason Revere. I am the founder and owner of Revolution Franchise, and we help everyday people get into business ownership, most of them for the very first time. If you want to learn more about what we do, visit our website, revfran.com. But again, as I mentioned at the top of the video here, we're here today to talk about the fitness industry. Man, there are a ton of franchises in the fitness space. I mean, if you just think about it off the top of your head, right? You got Anytime Fitness, that's a big one. Gold's Gym, it's another one. It's really one of those legacy ones. Planet Fitness, one of those real disruptors that came in a number of years ago that was offering like $10 black card memberships where you can visit any of their clubs anywhere in North America for like $10 a month. It was unbelievable. I was a member of one. It was great. It was great for the individual, for the client that was going in there. They were huge. Usually, they had a ton of amenities, things like cold plunges and saunas, and big locker rooms, nice showers, a ton of equipment. Right, it was great. But did the owners make any money? We're going to talk about that today and some of those challenges that go into building some of those mega complexes. But you've got the LA Fitness. Ton of them, right? F45, that was one that was around for a little while. They ran into some issues as well. I think that was Floyd Mayweather's deal. You've got Mark Wahlberg was involved with a fitness concept. And take that back. Mayweather was involved with a different one. It was Mark Wahlberg who was on F45. Shame on me. If I was willing to cut, I would cut that out. But we're going to leave it in for you today because these are real videos shot in real time. All right, but a few of the things you need to know if you're taking notes. Hopefully, you got a notepad here. If you are interested in this industry, you got to know a couple things. The initial investments on some of these franchises, it ranges a ton. We're going to talk about the different kind of categories that these franchises are in and how the initial investment goes into each one of those. We're going to talk about the potential revenues and some of the things that will influence those potential revenues, things like lifetime value of per client and the amount of time that each client stays as an active member of each types of these gyms. We're going to talk about things like just roadblocks and things to be aware of down the stream, right? Some things that there may be disruptors that are coming in to this industry that are going to affect how well you're going to be able to operate this type of a business. If you think back to 2020 and 2021, right? Nobody could have seen that a pandemic was going to basically say, hey, guess what, gyms? You can't do that anymore, right? And so there are going to be some things here that are maybe not even health related, but maybe technology related that are going to have an impact on that. We're going to talk about that. And then if you stay till the end, I am going to share with you a really exciting new fitness franchise that I had the opportunity of meeting with one of the founders with yesterday. Really neat concept. With a lot of things to really like about it. Some of the lifetime value is substantially higher, and there's some clear reasons for that. And we'll talk to you about what that looks like, what it will take to become an owner of that particular franchise, and what potentially you could even make with that. So stick around till the end. But without further ado, let's jump in, and we're going to talk about the initial investments. So average initial investments. We're going to break this down by category. We'll put something up on the screen for you to see here. But you got we got 5 categories here. Low cost boutique studios. So the low cost boutique studios, these are your F45s, Exercise Coach, Fit Body Boot Camp, and the like. There was one called Eat the Frog Fitness. That would be in one of those low cost / boutique studios. It's still a brick and mortar, but it's a little bit low cost. The one that we're going to talk about at the end fits into this category. The initial investment on those types of franchises is between $100 and about $350,000. 100 at the very low end. I think people, when they put that into their item 7 of their FDD, they're trying to hook in people with some marketing ploys there, like $100,000, you can open up this business. There's no way in hell you're opening up a fitness studio with a brick and mortar for $100,000. So let's be real here. It's between 250 and 350 is probably a good range to be thinking about there for those boutique type fitness franchises. That brings us to the mid-tier fitness centers. These are things like Anytime Fitness. Okay, you've seen an Anytime Fitness. They're usually not huge, right? They're usually they're maybe next door to like a Dunkin' Donuts or something, or they're maybe next door to a shoe store. You know, the similar kind of footprint there. You got to have it big enough to have the equipment in and the some bathrooms and whatnot. But they're not these mega studios. They're not massive. Snap Fitness is another one. Workout Anytime is another one. These types of franchises usually run between 250,000 to 600,000. Again, I'm always worried of those low end numbers. So let's call it for what it is. About 450 to 650, $600,000 range is what it's going to take to open up one of those types of franchises. You've got a lot of investment there, and what goes into that is going to be your franchise fee, your equipment, your build out, the lease, any TI, right, the tenant improvements that maybe you're able to negotiate through your franchisor, all of those things to get it up and running, permits, initial marketing expenditure, working capital, enough working capital to keep the business solvent while you're ramping up and getting to the point where it becomes cash flow positive and the business is able to fund itself. All of those things are taken into consideration when coming up with these numbers. But if you just think about an Anytime Fitness, right? You got a lot of technology in those things. You got a lot of equipment in those things. And those equipment packages, those are going to be $250,000 of that initial investment in just the equipment. That's going to be one of the biggest things that's on your balance sheet and on your initial investments. Some of the time you're financing that through a lease, lease agreement and whatnot. So it may, the initial investment may fluctuate on that. But again, you're going to be putting together these loan packages. These are the numbers you're going to have to be aware of. All right. Let's talk about the next one here. These are your high end. These are like your full service gyms, your Gold's gyms, your Crunch Fitness, UFC gyms. These ones are much, much larger, about 3 times the size in footprint. Usually you're going to be in Class A type real estate as well, where you're next to maybe a Publix or a Whole Foods or something, and you got a lot of foot traffic going in there. A lot of foot traffic means lots of eyeballs. Lots of eyeballs means lots of money on the rent. And so you could be talking upwards of $30,000 to $40,000 per month just in rent for one of these concepts. But these high end are going to be between $1 million and about $3 million plus to get one open. This is really only for your high end type buyer, high end, high net worth type investor that are going to come in and buy one of these types of franchises. They're usually very diligent and very strict with whom they allow to come in here. They've got to see that you've got the requisite capital to make it happen. High net worth individuals, they're not going to be talking to anybody with a net worth of under $1 million to $2 million. And so it's really only reserved for those that are looking for a wealth protection vehicle, not a wealth creation vehicle. And so just keep that in mind. If that sounds like you, this could be a really great option for you because, again, there's lots to like about all of these concepts here. All right, specialty in these niche kind of concepts. These are the ones that, 9 round, they're boxing only, Club Pilates, right? They only do Pilates style workouts. Pure Bear, I don't even really know what they do exactly. You got Cycle Bar, that's obviously a spin type franchise where they run these classes in here. HIIT type workouts as well. The F45 could fit into that category as well. And also the one that we're going to be talking about at the end of today's program fits into that category as well. But again, these range a lot because the way that you're going to operate these types of businesses vary greatly, right? So you can get into some of these specialty niche concepts where they're a little bit mobile, right? Maybe you're going out and you're doing some workouts in a park, like group workouts in a park, very low overhead on those types of things, very low initial investment on those types of businesses. Some require maybe even a Class C type real estate. We're just in a light industrial area. You got an overhead door, you open it up and you run like a boot camp style thing. Those types of businesses exist. They're pretty cool. They're low investment. A lot of them are also very low revenue. So keep that in mind. You want to make sure you align yourself with the one that fits your financial and your lifestyle goals. there, but it is a really low entry point to get into the fitness industry if that's something that you're really passionate about. All right, and the last one here, these are your mobile only or your virtual ones. Think Gym Guys is one of those. Send Me a Trainer is another one of those, right? Where it's really just a technology platform that connects trainers to the people that they're training as well. Also, by the way, going backwards before I go forwards here, meant to mention a special honorable mention to in the specialty concepts. There's a brand called Special Strong. So Special Strong deals with helping people with special needs in their fitness journeys, right? And you work with a lot of people that are either younger kids primarily who are wheelchair bound, and maybe some kids with developmental issues, Down syndrome, etc. And it's a really cool mission. If you're into like the mission of not only fitness but helping people with special needs, highly recommend that you take a look at that one. You're not going to become a multimillionaire owning one of those businesses, but it is a way to generate revenue while also serving that community and having that kind of passion play at you there. And I didn't want to move on before I mentioned them. So again, special shout out to Special Strong. All right, and back to the program here. Your mobile and your virtual fitness ones. Again, these are, I love kickboxing, different models like that, where you're going to be doing your mobile, right? You're going to people's homes, Gym Guys, you're going to somebody's house. You're helping usually, hoity-toity rich people, let's face it, exercise in their homes because maybe they're agoraphobic and they don't want to leave. Your Howard Hughes types, right? I'm kidding. These could be just people who are busy. Maybe they're stay-at-home moms and they don't want to leave. They can't leave the kids, but they want to get a good workout in, but they also want the accountability, that one-on-one type coaching. You deploy somebody in a vehicle, in a van, where they show up with all the equipment. They do the workout with the person that's paying them. They move on to the next one. Pretty cool concept. I've had an opportunity to meet with the Gym Guys founder. Great guy, real passionate guy, super intense. So if you're a real intense kind of guy and gal, you're gonna like them a lot. But back to see, this is what happens when you do live videos. All right, so the initial investment range on those types, your mobile and virtual fitness brands, are maybe between 25,000 and 100,000. The low end being those really, really super low ones with like maybe a $10,000 franchise fee. I don't really think those are great for you. Sounds more like you're spending money than investing money. You can be the judge of that if you want to go down that path. Happy to connect you with some if it passes my sniff test. But for the most part, you're going to be in that $100,000 range to get one of these open. You got to buy a vehicle. You're going to have to hire somebody as a trainer, unless you want to be the owner, operator, and trainer in your business, which is a fine way to start, but it's a really tough way to scale that business because while you're doing the training, who's focusing on the big picture stuff like marketing and growing the business? And so keep that in mind if that is what you want to do. But again, very low level entry point there. Some of the things that are included, back to the original point here, what's included in that initial investment. I want to make sure I don't leave anything off. Your equipment, your build out, your franchise fee, your leasehold improvements, initial marketing and grand opening costs, your working capital for 3 to 6 months. I forgot to mention signage. I knew I forgot something here. Your signage on a gym can be very costly, especially if you get one of those, like if they require one of those real fancy, light up signs with the video display and whatnot. And that could be 30, 40, 50 grand, just part of your initial investment. Again, they offer financing for those things, but something to keep in mind. Typical franchise fees range anywhere from $25,000 all the way up to about $75,000 with some of these more highly sought after concepts. So keep that in mind. Your royalty is something you need to be aware of as well. All franchises will charge some sort of ongoing royalty. It's about the only way that they can provide any sort of service and grow the brand nationwide. And so that's going to be between 5 and 7%, usually on average. And then your marketing fund fee, this is a fee that you contribute to help the brand grow nationwide, right? These franchisors get audited on it. And so every franchisee pays into this marketing fund. It's called a brand development fund. That ranges anywhere from 1 to 3% of your top line revenue. So if you're doing $1 million, you're talking about $10,000 that you're chipping in to the greater good to grow this brand nationwide. They can't spend it on anything else, by the way. If you find out they're using it to buy a jet airplane or something like that, corporate jet, make sure you're a whistleblower and call the Federal Trade Commission on them. They'll get in some trouble for them. There has been franchises that have done that. So that is the initial investments. So I'm going to go up here to let's talk here. We talked about before revenue, right? Revenue is a really important number here. So we're going to break these same things down into similar categories than we had in the initial investment. These are your low cost gyms, okay? These are the ones that charge a very, very low amount of money, like $10, like we were talking about before, the Planet Fitness. That is going to affect your ability to generate revenue because you've got to have a ton of members to make any money at $10 a pop, right? So your average gym that falls into that range is usually generating between $500,000 annually up to $1.5 million on the high end. But these are things you need to understand. These are high volume, low margin, but they are minimal staffing. Okay, right? So your low margin, meaning your low margin on the actual acquisition of that client, right? You're making $10 per client per month, maybe a $10 activation fee, super, super low. You're going to have thousands of these members to get to anywhere near these numbers. And so, but it is a very high volume. You got a large amount of attrition and turnover. But the cool thing is a lot of the times these people will turn on their memberships and they'll either forget to turn them off or it's too big of a pain in the ass to turn them off, or they're just too embarrassed to turn them off. And they're just like, well, someday I'll get to the gym, right? So you're not having thousands of members in these gyms at any given moment. But you do have to keep these gyms clean and things like that. So you will have to have cleaning staff on there. Anyway, I digress. That's about how much money you make if you own one of these types of franchises. Mid-tier gyms, okay? These are the ones like the Anytime Fitness where you're talking $30-$40 a month for a membership. They've got some maybe similar amenities, but maybe it's just some panache of joining an Anytime Fitness, I guess, above a Planet Fitness. I don't really understand it personally. I had a great experience as a Planet Fitness member, but the Anytime Fitness, it is a popular deal here. But those usually make substantially less money. Because I mentioned before, right? Planet Fitness was a disruptor. They came in and they killed these mid-tier gyms. So if they move into an area like this, they're going to siphon membership right off of them. So you're making anywhere from $300,000 to $800,000. Quick aside, I actually looked at acquiring an Anytime Fitness from a guy that I know that owned one in a small town in Indiana and signed the NDA. So I can't tell you exact numbers and whatnot, but took a look at them. Less than impressed. Just didn't make any sense. And even though you could leverage almost all of the buy of it, seemed like something that you might want to do at some point. But I was like, you can't justify that type of investment for the types of money that they were bringing in, and the net profitability just wasn't there. Sounded like it was going to be a lot more work than was worth it. Hard pass on that. Anyway, moving on here, you got your boutique studios. Okay, these are the ones that give you something more than just fitness, right? They're a little bit more community based. Right? Like the F45s, the Orange Theory. There's a culture. Right? You see these people wearing like the Orange Theory shirts, the F45 shirts. It's because they believe that they're doing something a little bit different, a little bit cooler to stay in shape, right? And they're going to these classes. They've got some camaraderie there. It's a culture. It's a culture thing. So you can charge a little bit more. But again, they usually only make between $300,000 to about $1 million or so on the really high end if you're really doing a really good job with those types of franchises. Higher price, they got a pricing per class model as well, so you can make other additional revenue streams. With that culture, though, right, you get the shirts that you can sell, so you do make some extra ancillary stuff. I don't see a lot of people walking around with Planet Fitness shirts. I don't know about you guys, but you don't see a lot of that. And so you got that added revenue stream there from those types of franchises in that space. All right, let's talk about the high-end gyms. These are your Equinoxes. Right? Oh, man, holy cow. You listen to Ryan Russillo podcast. He talks about going to the Equinox. Right? This caters to the muckety mucks. The real real high echelon crowd. They are a bit pricey to join, but again, that comes with a lot of amenities. You get masseurs, and they usually have food type things there that they're offering, and smoothie bars and things like that. They're really catering to that high end type individual. Those can make a tremendous amount of money just from the food, from the massages, from the personal training sessions that they're charging another pretty penny for. So those range in from about 2 million all the way up to, like, you'll see some locations doing $10 million a month. Really great premium services, multiple revenue streams, etc. Your niche, your specialty gyms, the ones that we were talking about before, your Pure Bear, your 9 round boxing type franchises, they usually don't make as much money because it is super hyper niche, which is great, right? The riches are in the niches, but also the ditches can be in the niches. I don't know. I'm trying to make up a rhyme on the spot. You're talking between 150 and 600,000 on the really high end of these types of franchises. Again, if you're super into boxing, it can be a very cool business. It's just you have to understand what you're getting into. You're not going to be making millions upon millions of dollars owning these types of businesses. And your home-based gyms, your home-based like mobile brands that we talked about before, anywhere from $100 to $400,000. Super low overhead, which is great, so they're really high profit, but it's a lot of hustle. And if you're hustling a lot and you're really good at getting out into the community and getting a lot of eyeballs on you, and you're really good at structuring like these mobile group classes, like out in the parks and whatnot, it can be very lucrative because if you're really good with your time and you're a real dynamic personality and you're in great shape and you're the face of your business and you're out there marketing it, you can get 20, 30, 40, 50, 100 people to show up to these parks and do these workouts if you're doing these big group classes, and it doesn't cost you hardly. You may have to pay a little rental fee at the park, but it's not going to be that much, and you get a pretty substantial amount of revenue from that. If you're looking for like a solopreneur type enterprise as well, this could be a very good business for you. Super low cost, really cool way to make decent living on, and be in control of your time, and really make yourself a personal brand at a local scale. Pretty neat concept there. So again, I got nothing bad to say really about any of these franchises. Just you have to know what you're getting into. All right, that brings us to lifetime value. So lifetime value of a member is one of those things that is going to greatly increase not only the revenue potential of your franchise business, but also the profitability, because your lifetime value, it's going to cost you the same amount of money to get a client that stays a month than it is to get one that's going to stay for 3 years. Does that make sense? And so when you're talking net profitability, the less you can spend in marketing to generate the same amount of revenue, the higher your profit margin is, your net profitability is. And so if you can really increase that lifetime value of that member, it makes a huge difference, not only to your top line, but major difference to your bottom line. And so those are things to really consider. Your Planet Fitnesses, your average duration of a member is anywhere from 6 to 12 months, right there. It's not super sticky, right there. People will dip in and out of those types of gyms. Easy to join, easy to leave. It is what it is, right? They don't really give you a lot of reasons to stick around other than the low price. That will only go so far, because as well as I know, most people, they join the gym right around New Year's time, right? June rolls around and they haven't gone to that gym since January 14th, and they keep getting that bill. They may be inclined to go ahead and cancel it. So it's a constant churn, and you're constantly having to market that business with a big spike in starting in about November all the way through to about February or so, just reminding people, hey, those New Year's resolutions are coming up. You're a big fatso this year. You don't want to be a big fatso next year. Let's go ahead and get joined up to Planet Fitness. You get a black card for only $10 per month with no activation fee, blah, 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 blah. Rinse and repeat, and the cycle continues. And so that is about what you can expect when you have that. It's not quite Groundhog's Day, but it's just also not quite the recurring revenue model that you were probably hoping for, because it is, you're recycling membership a lot. All right, you got your mid-tier franchises. Again, your Anytime Fitness, your LA Fitness. Honestly, between about 12 and 18 months is really about what their average membership takes, because it is a little bit more expensive. So their commitment level is a little bit higher. So they don't run out of steam on their going to the gym, because they're just like, it's $40 a month. I should probably go because it is $40 a month. So it might last until, April of that year. And then the 6 month cycle continues. And then they start creeping in like, yeah, maybe I should cancel. And they start seeing the advertisements again. They're like, oh no, I'll go back in January once, me eat all my cookies in December, and then I'll be back. And then the cycle continues. And now you're back to, you're thinking, okay, let's be honest, I didn't do it last year. I'm probably not going to do it again. I'm just going to cancel this membership come June. So that's really why that 18-month thing lasts. Let's get into the boutique fitness thing here. Okay, your boutique fitness depends on how good your boutique is, right? How sticky is the culture that you've built. So your F45s, you're going to be sticking around a lot longer because they've built that culture. The one we're going to talk about at the end of this, they've got the longest that I've ever heard of before, backed by data that their members last a really long time. And so, but again, on average, you're talking anywhere from about 8 to 18 months, 8 to 8. That is similar range to your mid-tier franchises. But the reason it's a range is how sticky is it, right? How good is your culture? We're going to talk about that again before we end this video here. And then your high-end gyms, okay? These ones are lasting the longest. Your averages are going up to about 2 years, right? But your average monthly fee is between $200 and $300 in these types of high-end gyms or Equinoxes. $200 to $300 a month. That ain't cheap, right? That ain't cheap. Hell, you can buy $300 worth of workout equipment. You get the same workout in your garage. And that's a one-time payment. Well, that's not the reason that people do it. They like to be seen. They like to be out there. They like to be checking people out. Like, oh, hey, baby, it's like it's the new Tinder, right? And so anyway, that's what your average lifetime duration. So your estimated fees for the low-cost ones, anywhere from $600 to $300. Average lifetime value. Your mid-tier franchises, anywhere from $360 to $1,080. Your boutique studios, anywhere from $800 to about $2,800. So you see we're climbing up the ladder here. And then your high-end gyms, anywhere from $2,400 to $7,200 lifetime value per member that you bring on. If you think about it, you get 200, 300, 400, 500 members at any given time. Your lifetime value of those is just that number times 7,200. That ain't bad. So small, tiny, incremental increases in your lifetime value in maybe the duration or the amount of monthly fee that you can get out of them will dramatically increase your top line and really substantially impact your bottom line. So that's a little insight into the fitness space. And as I said before, we're going to talk about one specifically. So if you're still with me here, thanks for sticking with me, and you're going to be paid off now. So the franchise we're going to talk about today is an Australian-based franchise. Okay, they've been franchising now for only a handful of months, 6-8 months of being an active franchise. They're really, really well funded. They've got a billionaire that's backing them, and they've got a founder who is a professional rugby player, who's a fitness influencer, got about 80 some odd thousand Instagram followers, dynamic speaker, highly sought after guy. Hosts a podcast. Arnold Schwarzenegger's been a guest on his podcast. And so he's founded this company. It is one of those boutique kind of franchises that builds the culture, okay? But it was Australian based. It is now in the United States franchising. They've got 20 locations right now. So it's still very new. It's still a lot of greenfield out there, but a lot of data points that you're going to be able to point to and people that you're going to be able to talk to who have opened these up and ask them the success that they've seen here. Gotten the opportunity to speak with some of them. I like it. I think it's a pretty cool thing, and so worth checking out. Okay, so the name of the franchise is Training Mate. They're Training Mate, right? They're Australian. They're Training Mate, and they've got, like I mentioned, 20 of them are open. It's a 13-year-old concept, though. They've been doing this for a really long time. They are backed not by private equity, but by a billionaire investor who's come in and seen the value of this. He owns a soccer club in Mexico. That's why he's into this type of business, this type of industry. Loves the founder and was willing to put his money where his mouth is. So they're really well capitalized, and they spent a lot of time. They hired some really smart people in the franchising space, come in and make sure that it is built properly so it can be scalable and not grow irresponsibly like some franchises do, where it becomes a big house of cards. Not naming names, although I talked about a few of them earlier today. Okay, this is where it gets really interesting. Okay, they call this their model 51% social, 49% physical. What do? They do HIIT workouts. Okay, 45-minute HIIT, high intensity interval training workouts. There's other companies out there that do that, but it's about how do they do it. Do they just put it on a video screen like some of these guys, again, not naming names, although I've already named a couple of them, or do they have live in-person trainers? And to build that, foster that community, these people do the in-person trainers. They're with them, coaching them, providing them that feedback, that adrenaline boost that they get, that the dopamine hit that they get from the positive feedback that they're getting there, right? They're around their peers. They're around people that are their age. Their typical client is about 25 to 45 years old. So you got a real vibrant social scene there. Franchisor is built in a lot of really cool marketing tactics to not only to get membership, but to also retain membership through social events, going out to get a beer. And they got all these, fancy Australian terms that they'll call people, right? Like a new member, they'll call it Joey, and they make them feel a member of their tribe. And anyway, so 51% social, 49% physical. The lifetime value is where it gets really interesting, right? You're really talking about stickiness and driving up that lifetime value. They do it really well. Their average lifetime value, members stay between 3 and 4 years. Now, that's twice what the Equinox folks are doing. That's pretty cool. We've got some good data points and data sets to actually give you so you can see that. And you can talk to people who have operated these. Say, hey, how long do people stay with you? About 3 to 4 years on average. That's unbelievable, right? Okay, so 250 members in this location. So you only need 250 members to equal $1 million. How is that? Well, how much they're charging, right? It's about $250 per month to be a member of this club, right? This really, and it can be fairly exclusive kind of club, because if you only need 250 members, that's not a huge business, not a huge mega business, but it's making a mega amount of money, right? So $1 million, 250 members, pretty cool. It's written in their item 19 of their FDD. If I'm misquoting this is my disclaimer. Hey, this is opinion only, backed by some research. I think that's right, because I've read their FDD. I don't want to get in trouble. So that's my disclaimer for you. Okay. All right, and then they got per class passes. They got other ways of making money. They sell t-shirts. They got really cool branding, etc. So you can make a fairly decent amount of money, fairly good sized amount of money by comparison to some of these other franchises out there. Work less, make more. Pretty cool, right? Have less liability, less people coming in, and make more money. So at $1 million, your typical profit margins are going to range anywhere from about 15% net all the way up to 30% net. You have to look at their FTD to really kind of decipher that. What's going to influence that? Obviously, it's the amount of time that a business has been open. Because it takes some time. Right? You're going to be investing money to make money downstream. And so as your membership and the lifetime value thing starts to come to fruition, so every month you're starting with a certain number of members. As it builds and grows, your net profitability is going to go up because your acquisition cost is going down, etc. So once you get to maturity, you can really start to expect those 25 to 30% net profit margins, which is substantially higher than most fitness franchises that are out there and available. And that's all after royalties, all after all that stuff that is real, tangible, workable money in your pocket as the business owner that you can do with what you please. And all right, so let's see here. First month, they're seeing anywhere between $25,000 and $35,000, kind of the range of revenue. in month one. That's pretty solid, right? That means there's a quick ramp up. Why is there a quick ramp up? Because they have pre-sale memberships. So when you get open, you're hitting the ground running, right? You got classes going, you got members flooding in, you got events built up, all done pre-sale while you're doing the build out. Your initial investment is about 350,000 is what they're seeing across the board. Roughly 350,000. They've got a range just like every other. Done some quick math on it. I believe it's going to be about $350,000 to get the doors open. That's a pretty good number to play with. So you need to come to the table with at least, they require $150,000 liquid, but they've got to be able to see provable liquid. You've got a great credit score. Then all you need to do is come with between 10 and 20% down to get an SBA loan. They are registered with the SBA, meaning that they can fast track a loan. You're on the low end of what they classify as an SBA Express loan, so it can be much quicker. But it is still the government that's trying to get the wheels turning here. So quick, it's quick by government standards. 3 to 4 months to get your funding. So you'll have to pay your franchise fee. You'll have to sign a lease before you get your money's distributed to you. But it's all good. It's been done a million times. It is what it is. So you'll have to come to the table with bare minimum to pay that initial franchise fee, which we'll put up on the screen here because I forgot to write it down. And they will, once you get the ball rolling on that, it's pretty simple to get the SBA loan taken care of. So who's a good fit for this franchise? And then we'll wrap it up. And really any fitness franchise, okay? If you're just a passive investor and you're going to be able to hire people really well and just dump a ton of money, it don't matter. All you got to do is be a super rich guy or gal, right? Which is fine. But what about the one that wants to be an owner operator of this business? Have a passion for fitness, right? Be in pretty good shape. Be in pretty good shape. You don't have to be some crazy, like the founder of Training Mate. You don't have to be in that good a shape or former professional athlete or anything like that, but you got to be in pretty good shape. But you also have to have a real desire to be around people who also share a bit of a passion for fitness and who want to get in shape. You got to have like that kind of mentality, and also be a bit empathetic because you're going to be dealing with a lot of people who may have fitness challenges. They may have physical issues that they're trying to work through, right? And so you've got to have that kind of empathetic. So you're going to be walking around your gym, meeting people. If you're going to be a successful owner operator, you're the face in your community. And like I said before, become a local celebrity. Don't be a wallflower if you're going to be good at this type of business. So that's really the type of person they're looking for. Plus, you got to have at least what is it? At least $500,000 net worth and at least $150,000 liquid capital, provable liquid capital available to make that investment. Okay, that's enough for me today. Check it out. Did it with no cuts. Look at me, all live all the time, baby. Okay, if you like what you saw on today's video, make sure you click subscribe on this video. Leave a like. Make a comment on here, another industry you'd like me to review or another specific franchise you'd like me to review. Visit revfran.com to learn more about us. That's it from us today. Be excellent.